Hello, everybody. This is Lionel and
Harry.
with the two guys T and D, and we are going to do a little video today. We're going to do something, talk about transportation in Harry's world, Steampunk Magic World, and
still haven't named it.
Still haven't named it, so that makes it kind of awkward when we started talking about it.
Yep.
So, Harry, your homework between now and the next brewing session is to come up with a name.
Oh, crap. Harry
Didn't know that was going to come, did you, Harry?
Yeah, that'll do.
What we want to talk about today is like, how do people get around? How do people get around in your world, Harry? So I think people automatically jump to a lot of conclusions when they hear steampunk.
Yep.
What's great about your world is kind of like this blend. It's steampunk and but there's still magic in the world. Yeah, so how do people get around?
Well, for those of you that have caught the first session of One Foot in the Grave, you'll know that trains are a thing.
Yes.
Although that one's not much of a train anymore. But
so let's talk about the standard ones. Feet, people get around by walking. Obviously, that's pretty standard. But so horses still exist.
Yeah, horses are used. Still very much the layman's mode of transportation. Definitely, that really wasn't phased out for a long time.
Right, motorbikes.
Yes,
or bicycles in general. Nice. So when you vision the motorbikes in your world, Harry, are they these big, like modeled after but driven by steam motorcycles, or are they kind of like if you look at Victorian era early motorcycles from like in our own world, it would take like a regular bike and they put this small little engine on it, but basically in all essence it's still a bike, or would there potentially be both? Because I really see like someone like puttering along. Have you ever seen the movie with Will Smith? Oh crap! What was it called? Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West. Yeah. And
I can't remember the other character, the other actor's name that plays the other character in that movie, because I'm just so terrible with names.
No, I can't remember.
He has this little bike, and it's motor powered, and he's like Avante, and he's trying to outrun Will Smith's character, who's like I think is on a horse or something. Yeah. So I just think that really captures like like that Victorian steampunk feel when you have like stuff, when you have that blending.
Oh, definitely. It's I guess here might be an image. Let me share my screen. I think this is one of the things I'm definitely envisioning. I think there would be different types. But this, hopefully it will appear in like 10 seconds for you guys, but
yes.
Where it's more like I guess that's probably a bike, possibly a trike, but yeah, that sort of sitting down with the big boiler just belching out steam and things. I think that's
I like that. That's actually I even like the design of that image.
I'm gonna look up this artist later. If I can find 06.
So we have horses. We have like these kind of these steamless carriage type or horseless carriage type things like the bike. How about cars?
Yeah, cars. Even trucks for the very rich. Because obviously you've got to think about the use of the transport. So. For like the industry, you're going to need things to move all of your stuff around. So boats obviously are a thing, but in my world, it's very difficult to get boats anywhere long distances because they tend to get eaten, destroyed by big horrible beasties.
Which is actually pretty great. Not if you're on one of those boats that gets eaten by a beastie, but it actually really challenges the inhabitants of your world, Harry, to say, all right, we got to come up with another way to get out there and explore places we can't explore because we keep getting killed by these big sea monster type things. Yeah. So that really begs the question. So is that so are there like dirigibles, airplanes, or some sort of flying vehicles, or are those like still things that are like research?
Yeah, they're so they've gone through the research stage and they're building the first sort of, I guess not really a prototype, but the first usable thing, the avant-garde, which is going to be flying east, which I probably have to do. I'll probably do a one-shot of that when I have a bit more time. Take up a crew of adventurers on this airship, send them east, see what they find.
Nice. Right.
And that will also advance the sort of storyline, the timeline just a little bit to sort of, then you'll get that proliferation of airships. Once that has been tested and, it's successful.
Right. Right. So we got horses, we got your standard kind of fantasy tropey ways of getting around. Carriages pulled by horses, carts pulled by horses, and oxen, all that stuff. So magic. Is magic a way, and how does magic influence your world and how folks travel?
So in the sort of timeline, there was just a big age of magic where the current king who's ruling now used to live in. So he's got teleportation circles in secret locations only known to him and a few select others. Like there's one between him and the sort of major wizarding guild in the New Common City called the Silver Arcanum, which my home group are, well, before they screwed things up, were a part of.
Right.
And they've got a teleportation circle, but it's very, very limited. It's being overtaken by, things that everyone can use.
Right. So that's probably something so is that fading out of popularity, or even like, so that's not something it seems like that's something like the only the chosen few have access to, versus
maybe
like
a dozen or so people have actually used these in the last 200 years or so.
Right. And how about like just other mages? Are like dimension doors, teleportation, are those still things that are available to mages as ways of transportation?
Not really something I've really thought about. So obviously this is very D&D focused. I guess there would be. But obviously being, again, it's very a select few. Because obviously you've got to pay for this education.
Right.
And in wizarding, that's very expensive. You've got to pay for all of your spells that you get into your spell book. You've got to pay to be taught those spells. So it's very expensive to be a wizard in this world.
Right. So it just almost naturally pushes people towards more of the tech side.
Yeah.
Steam powered, that kind of development. So how I'm trying to think about this. So how available would a lot of these steam conveyances be to people when we talk about like the steam powered bikes or the steam powered horseless carriages? And maybe even at some point when there's like dirigibles and whatnot for travel, there's trains, which I've experienced personally as a player in one of your games. Not very safe, but it is definitely something that the masses can definitely get from point A to point B on. So is it like the more influential you are, the more likely you are to have access to like these I guess more technologically driven ways of getting around?
I think steam bikes, as they're not like super complicated or that expensive to make, they're definitely a bit more common than other things. So the Piston Heads, which are the sort of a criminal organization based in New Common City, they have access to some of these steam bikes, which they use to escape the police quite easily. So, yeah, I think the sort of larger you get, the more expensive it is to buy, and the rarer they'll be. So some of the sort of steam, like the mass transport sort of steam trucks, I guess for lack of a better word, they'd only be used by the sort of bigger companies. that can actually afford to move.
I get this image of this big steam powered like tractor trailer rig and or I guess trolleys, and it's just pulling like these big box cars of goods. So
yeah, I guess a bit like a train, but without on the rails.
Right. Right. Good. So so I wonder too, because if players have access to these sorts of things, I guess one of the things to be thinking about is like, well, how much do these things cost? What sort of upkeep does it require? Is there certain tech levels that folks need to have? Like if you think of fifth edition, there's like, so I can have the skill with driving, land vehicles and whatnot. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's land vehicles, which gives you access to all of those sort of horses and things like that. I think there's boats in the Dungeon Master's Guide somewhere.
So I saw this image, which I'm going to share, because we were talking about a steam-powered Segway before we went live.
Yeah.
And so I Google searched it, and so I'm just going to share this image. Let me see if I can make it bigger. So this is the first image that I saw, Harry, and I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I won't share it because that doesn't look like it's going to let me share it.
Oh.
Here we go. And this is something that someone actually really made. This is not a this is not so,
do you want me to try and find it so that I can share it? Have you got it? Oh, there we go.
I chuckled when I saw this. This is a steampunk Segway. And all it is a couple of wheels. So could you imagine trying to drive that? But
trying to pedal that along, yeah.
Harry, I'm going to be disappointed if you do not have one of these available in your game world, because that would be so great. Yes, I'm going to get there.
I'm going to make a note of this. Hold on.
Yeah, it's got the little kickstand and everything. It's really, really great.
Right.
So,
yeah. So one thing I definitely want, which I think will have to be from the physics of it, a sort of mixture of magic and technology, is planes. Like I want that sort of like flying aces, the air force of Newcomen. I want that kind of that feel, so we can do a couple of like one shots or something of just flying around, like shooting down like wyverns or chimeras and things like that.
Yeah, I think we had talked about that off camera after our last Brewing one, and we had even looked at some images of some steam powered, like not only like planes but like airships or aircraft carriers, and there were some pretty amazing things. And it would really speak to how man could slowly start becoming the more dominant species in a world, because once you can start taking the air, those creatures that typically were kind of like masters. I think probably the most ape. Oh, this one's really cool.
Well, this image is broken since we last did it, but that was the perfect image, so I'll have to try and find another one. Sort of. Oh, okay. This will do. This will do. It's on. Oh no, I think Pinterest is down.
It could be. Well, I just think of something like this. Oh wait, yeah, there we go.
I'll get you click so I can see this in a second when it's loaded. Yeah, that's an image I've definitely shared. I don't think.
Yeah, that's like really end game. I would think though. That's like
that's a little bit too far in the future, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any sort of like more. I don't know, that's rudimentary type aircraft that, well, I mean, obviously there's something like this. Share this one. Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah, I got you clicked at the moment. Oh yeah. Something like that is the sort of look. Very sort of flimsy and primitive, but still
yeah,
does
it really should it should really beg the question when someone looks at it, say that thing's going to actually stay in the air and fly. I mean, that's, I think, that's what folks should be asking themselves when they see it is, wow.
Ooh.
Not only that, folks should be saying, oh, here's one. Here's a great one. Let me grab this one.
Oh, I'm gonna consider like military transport. I guess it's not really transport, but like tanks, steam tanks.
Oh yeah,
go for that sort of like
like an
that
armored.
go for that World War One era look. Very sort of primitive and boxy, and nothing too special with like the big tracks and just belching out steam. Because there is a war brewing in my world. It's been slowly bubbling, and now it's about to just sort of explode on the surface. So, as you know, as with our civilization, war brings about technological advances quite quickly. I mean, World War II, for example, had radar, all sorts of horrible things came out of World War II, nuclear weapons, but we did get nuclear reactors, which powering quite a few countries.
Right. I think this is one of the images we looked at last time, Harry.
That was the one I was trying to share, but it was really fuzzy and pixelated for me.
Let's see this one.
And I couldn't get it to work. But yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm going for. Look.
Yeah, it's just one seater. It's probably it probably doesn't have the maneuverability of like what we would think from a more, I think of like World War I era type biplanes where you were just as likely to die in a crash as you were to get shot.
That's down. Like a bomber. I see that as a bomber. What's that flag? Looks a bit like the.
It looks like a
Holy Roman Empire symbol.
Right. Here's another angle of it, but yeah, there's all kinds of great things, and this is just from a quick search of stuff. And
I'm trying to get a picture of some of the steamboats. I know that. If I can see Opium War with the United Kingdom and China. It's called the Nemesis. Trying to remember my research. Yeah, this is the sort of top of the range boat. Let me just click off you and share this. So sort of that bridge between sail and steam.
Yeah.
I want to like get that sort of into the picture. So this was basically facing off against junks, I think is the name of the Chinese. This probably isn't going to find it. Ship. This image here. It was basically, fighting this, so it could just run circles around them.
Yeah, and those things probably took on as much water as they floated on top of.
But yeah, it's they're not exactly the most technologically advanced. And that's how the UK managed to defeat China, even though China is such a massive empire at the time. Just wasn't as technologically advanced in that way.
Right.
Oh, this was another plane I found, which is sort of, I think, a little bit too high tech, but I loved the look of it and the sort of, I'm not sure the physics would work, but the double propellers at the front.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of, I don't know. I liked that look. I'm gonna stop sharing here. But yeah, I think we've got some decent things to work on. I might actually do some writing up of this, sort of get the mechanics of it sorted out in my own time, the boring bit.
Yeah.
So I can sort of put them in.
You did well with when we had the chat on firearms, and you really kind of did a nice job develoing a table.
Yeah, I need to go through that and work on that. I've got some feedback I need to put into it. And then I'm going to probably release it by the end of this week.
Well, great. So that kind of leads us to the next thing, which is, do you guys have some suggestions too for Harry or for myself on some other kind of steampunk magic-driven ways of getting around, whether it's in Harry's world or maybe it's in your own worlds that you do? But certainly, leave some comments below for sure.
Yep.
And I think with that, we will call this a wrap.
Yep. Yeah, I think we've been at about 21 minutes, so I think it's good enough time just to have a quick little discussion. So yeah, comment down below like any interesting ideas I can shamelessly steal.
Shamelessly, definitely shamelessly.
And yeah, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for next week. We've got a special guest on.
Yeah, I'm sure. And we will be doing another location flush.
Oh yeah.
So hey, thanks for watching. I'm Lionel,
and I'm Harry,
and we're two guys T and D&D.
Keep on drinking. I'm already out.